What's up, y'all? It's Feeds with another video. Today I wanted to cover masteries, try and make it short and sweet. This is one of the biggest areas where people kind of fall short. After they progress past the campaign, what do they do? And one of the biggest power increases that you can actually get in the game is masteries. Simply put, it's one of the best ways to become a more effective killer in the arenas, more effective way to clear dungeons, and overall it's going to help you really get that additional power increase that you need, simply because the final increases, the final tier of masteries that you get are all significant power increases. Either they give you percent damages, 3,000 HP, 200 defense, 50 resistance, 60 resistance, excuse me, that give you a lot of different impacts with them. So this is my Aethel build. I built her at this point years ago. I haven't really jacked with her masteries in a long time, but when I initially built her, not knowing any better, I did attack, right, instead of my crit and crit damage. Went with attack, of course, crit damage, so on and so forth. You get Life Drinker. The offensive tree gives you a lot of access to lifesteal, gives you additional damage when you're below 50%, when you're above 50%. You get additional damage if they have debuffs. If you take you'll do additional damage in arenas, so on and so forth. And so it's very impactful. There's a lot of heroes you can build with it. Usually you're going to err on the side of, do they do damage and is it impactful? And that's usually when you'd be looking at the offensive tree with them. The good thing is that you can get the scrolls to unlock them through the minotaur, so you don't have to do anything additional. If you are trying to just jump the gun, you can spend 800 gems to try and access all of them. I wouldn't really recommend it. You can just leave your minotaur farm on at night and get the scrolls here and there. Obviously, kind of at your own pace that comes with it. So we won't go through all of the different traits. We will talk about the last tier for all of them. War Master, Helm Smasher, and of course Giant Slayer have gone through some different iterations at different points. They were sometimes considered too strong, mainly because when you're doing percent damages on bosses, percent damages in arenas, when you're doing a massive ignore of defense, it caused a lot of issues. But overall, depending upon what type of event you're going for, what kind of character you build, if he's a multi-hit versus a single hit, will dictate kind of how you go with that. But really strong, super good for the offense. If you're trying to build out some additional damage, that's the tree you want to go. Defense is a little bit more than defense. It's also utility. It does give you a lot of reductions in damages, so AoE damages if you deal with a lot of those fights. Gives you some baseline defense and resistances. You can counterattack or remove debuffs if you wanted to. And then, of course, if you wanted to make a tank who's going to stack incredible defense, incredible resistance, you could share while the damage goes to that character instead of your team, which is super helpful. Of course, Iron Skin, base defense 200. Bulwark decreases all damage that allies take by 5%, and you'll receive that damage instead. Increases the chance to place in debuffs. This is a great one for Tormund with the auto freeze. And then, of course, your resistance 50, which is super helpful for you if you're not able to roll the gear properly with it. Last tier, support. Really, it's has its own utilities. You can go raw HP, you can go accuracy, which is helpful if you're trying to build a particular build that stacks poisons, flame debuffs, etc., HP burns. You also get cooldown reduction. This is a huge tree for cooldown reductions and base stats. So if I wanted to, if I happen to play a build where I need my teammates to die, you can do some builds like that where you have your teammates die, and then of course you get the additional speeds, which allow you to do X components with it. The baselines for these, or the last ones for these, are 3,000 HP, timely intervention, which increases turn meter whenever an ally hero drops below 25% HP, which is super helpful. This can be good if you are running a healer, running this with a healer that you need to have go quickly. Arbor, etc. Increase turn meter fill by 2.5% for each active debuff cast by this champion. Super helpful if you're running some poison builds, things of that nature. Gives you a little bit more accessibility if you're trying to get out combos faster too. So think of your Dracos, etc. And then, of course, your accuracy plus 50, which is huge, especially when you're fighting higher resistance bosses at the end of it. So super helpful in terms of being able to go after it. I would highly encourage you to dabble in your masters. You can reset the first time on a hero for free. After that, it does cost gems. But again, I would just highly encourage you to see what makes sense for you. Try and see what synergizes. There's going to be 100 different guides out there that tell you the best masteries for it, and people will typically show you the screen on those build guides, so you have access to try and copy them. But I would highly encourage you to experiment and find out what makes sense for you in terms of that. So the way you get to of course, Minotaur is by going to the Dungeons tab. So Battle, the Dungeons, and then Minotaur's Labyrinth. And what you want to do at that point is, of course, start the fight. So we'll just do 15 real quick. And then clear it out. Now, the benefit of the Minotaurs is he's not a significantly hard boss anymore. If you're having issues clearing him, go smaller so you can upgrade a little bit. It's not a super impactful deal. This is just one that I was leveling up a few extra masteries for Torment on. I need a little bit more for his freeze debuff, but gives you the idea that you'll have to clear 2 waves before you get to the boss. Minotaur does some AoE damage, and then of course increase the damage you take while doing additional damage. Then he goes into his berserk mode where he takes extra damage, but also does extra damage. So not a crazy difficult fight, but again, if you are having issues farming these scrolls effectively, just in terms of time, if you don't want to do these manually, just make sure you get to an appropriate level and then farm the on auto with these at night or when you go to sleep or when you're not really focused on playing the game. So gives you some access to it. As you get them, of course, it's going to be random. The higher tier you go, the higher the scrolls you have. There are three different scrolls that come with it. You'll need a good amount from each of them to do it. So try not to bring too many heroes who need scrolls. If you've got all your people maxed out, just bring the one person that you need to level up with it, and you can figure out from there what makes most sense. I would focus on your primary damage and your primary support first, and then after that, all your secondary characters can get with it. But outside of that, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, feel free to hit them in the comments. If you like the video, hit subscribe, and hopefully this was helpful. Thank you.